Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Wano deck deep dive. And today we're gonna go into a division that I play the most at the moment, because I enjoy it the most, by far, at the moment. And that is the 16th PantserDivision of the Belgian, a division that just got buffed quite a bit. And I already enjoyed it before, but I now actually think it is a pretty good division. And we're gonna go into why that is, bit by bit. So, as always, let's start with the logistics step, where we got some Ham VCPs, some Iltus PCs, and currently a lot of supply trucks here. Emma ends with 9 availability. That's something that Eugen messed up there, but it's in your favor. You currently get a lot of supply out of these. 9,000 instead of the classic 6,000 supply, so 2 cards are worth as much as usually 3 cards. And the Hum VCP here also gives you a forward deploy CV. That's why we go with it over the Sultan here, so that you can get some points early on in the game. In games where you want to end the game as quickly as possible, this can help out getting you to 2,000 points faster than the enemy can't stop you. And the division is all about the speed, and that's what we're also going to see in the infantry tab, where we start with Fusiliers, and those are pretty cheap for deploy units now. They got 5 points cheaper. For 55 points, they were not cost efficient. For 50 points, they are pretty decent. They are still not great, but they have an AT weapon and they have 2 MGs. So their firepower is better than your average recon squad out there. So they can win battles against those. And their lore allows them to deal with light vehicles that the enemy might have around early on as well. So they do exactly what you want a forward deploy deck in a mech formation to do. Stop the enemy recon, get a bit of ground, stop some vehicles, hold the ground until your real forces arrive, and all of that for a cheap point, 50 points, pretty cheap for forward deploy infantry. Most other infantry, like the Vulture Makers and 2nd Panzer Grenadiers or the SAS, cost a lot more. Here you get a cheap package that can grab you some grounds, and that's what the Fusiliers do. Then we come to the Mech Fusiliers. Those only cost you 40 points. They have 1 less hit point than their Luxembourgian counterparts, but they have an extra MG for it. Their AT weapon is horrible, but it doesn't matter. This is an anti-infantry unit, and the law still can stress out and help out with that, so the enemy still can't just ignore it. You won't kill much of it, but it can deal damage, and it can especially do stress damage, and that helps out. For example, its autocannon vehicle here to finish off the kills, and the Oerlikon is super important for this deck. The Oerlikon autocannon, being one of the top tier autocannons, is super key here to deal with enemy light vehicles, to win fights against something like a Martyrs on the long range with the autocannon, and to just kill off enemy units in general from a long range afar. And because they don't have ATGMs or anything like that, they're actually pretty affordable. 45 points is quite cheap. They have only 2 frontal armor, but because the Oerlikon gets to kill stuff so quickly, it's usually enough to kill the enemy before they can kill off your unit. And even if you trade, most of the time it's cost efficient trade here. So the combo of a 40 point cheap infantry that can deal really nicely with enemy infantry with the triple MG here, and a light vehicle that can help out dealing with enemy light vehicles, is a pretty cost efficient one, especially considering that we go up to max vet here. So we have 15 of them with the 3 cards, and on the max vet, all of this is really buffed up in efficiency by a lot as well. And then we have the Mech Fusiliers. Those are okay. Those are just our quick response force here. 7 hit points, 2 MGs, a better AT weapon, but 1 less MG. And yeah, they come in Unimox so that you have a quick response force. And then we have our 35 point unit here with 9 hit points in the Reservist. So they have 1 less MG, but 2 more hit points here. They have the Reservist trait, which before was terrible, now is still a big debuff, especially as they also have 0 vet and they are locked on that. But they are really cheap, they are 9 hit points, so the enemy has to chew through them for a while to actually get rid of them. The Blindicide is the AT weapon the enemy can't ignore, and you can't bring around these guys in massive numbers and just flood the battlefield with them in situations where you need to just bring some infantry in. And 12 availability is great as well. The M113 gives you a nice extra 50 cal here. That's why I bring it around here. 50 cal for some anti-infantry firepower there, just just pushing through, and also having something else that enemy ATGMs and so on can fire upon in front of your Leos can be really helpful as well. Just even soaking ammunition away from the enemy so that your Leos then can come around, but also keeping enemy units busy, especially now with the IFVs changes to the ATGM reloads. This can be helpful to like bait an enemy ATGM out of an IFV and then let your Leo run in whilst the enemy has to reload and kill them off. Then we have Pioneers, which we bring in M113s as well. Just your classic Pioneers. They got a bit cheaper and now are in a fair price point. 9 hit points, TNT, 1 medium machine gun. Nothing special. We have our Milan 2s here in Milan launch vehicles as well. And the Milan 1 coming around as well. Here it only costs 30 points but doesn't have smoke. Here it has 1 more extra armor and has smoke. It costs 40 points. They are not great, but they are extra light vehicles as well that can smoke off, that just keep the enemy busy. And the Milans you need to hold flanks, and the Milan launchers you can then just rotate around, either keep them rolling with your AFV plop to use the ATGM against enemy heavier vehicles where the autocannon might not be enough, or just keep them as a second ATGM around on the flank, so you really get a lot of vehicles here out of your infantry tab, and most of them are pretty affordable, pretty cheap, so you can just roam around with them. Tank tab, we have not the highest amount of numbers here, because we upvet all the Leo 1 A5s and 1s to the max, because this deck wants to push through with cost efficiency early on, and therefore we need the max vet. You still get a decent number here. You still get 14 Leos and 2 leader Leos, so 16 Leos once in total. That's an okay number for a tank that has max range and good fire capabilities there. Obviously not a big brawler. You don't want to get shot. You want to shoot the enemy, kill them. That's why the extra high veterancy is important as well, and not get shot back, because you have lower aim time with the higher veterancy. So chances are you will get the first shot, kill the enemy, especially with the 1A5s that have the great 17 pen for this price point. This is amazing. The 5-point price reduction and the extra card of these really helped out the deck. Like the 5 points cheaper here across the board helps out, saving up a bit more, so you can buy a couple more reservists or so throughout the game. And the extra card of 1A5 BE with the 17 pen and the better accuracy helped out a lot as well. Humvee Tow, really important for the opener, as it has forward deploy, so it can be set up to positions where it can snipe enemy transports, where it can snipe enemy recon cars from afar with the ATGM. It's fast and it's hard hitting with the Tow 2. Tow 2 in total also important to just kill heavy tanks later on as well, so really cool unit and important part of the deck. Recon tab is one of the big strengths in my eyes of the deck. You have GSRs, like one of the big advantages, for example, over 2nd Pentagon here, which is the most comparable division out there. And the GSR on the ESR GVP here with a special forces forward deploy unit are pretty strong. The Model 30 sniper rifle here with long range sniper is quite nice as well. The unit doesn't have the sniper trait, so it doesn't kill units, but it suppresses enemy infantry really nicely. So it allows you to set up usually engagements quite nicely against enemy infantry, where it stuns them down, and then your other infantry units can run them down and just kill them off. And this is really powerful as well. It is pretty pricey. It has a weak AT weapon, but the GSR is helpful, and it comes around nicely there in the early game. We have another forward deploy recon unit with Humvee 50 cals that can help out with your big vehicle park. The Eclairs himself, outside of that, just normal 4-man recon, nothing special there. We have our M113 A1 here, our little ground radar vehicle that can help out in the tank blob, spotting enemy units on the far. Is really cheap, can be helpful on the flank, and the 50 cal actually gives a decent stopping power against enemy infantry pushes as well. So for 25 points, that's a good combo. It doesn't have smoke, which it trades for the 50 cal, but that's okay if you play it nicely. Usually this thing shouldn't be getting shot all that much anyways. Scimitar, that is still a great little vehicle here in the recon tab. Can be really helpful in the openers as well, dealing with some enemy light vehicles. It wins against Luxus in a fight, for example, and so on. So Scimitar with the autocannon there, nice for openers, just nice on a tank push as well. Only gets good optics, but still better than the tanks around it, so having it in a tank club can be helpful. And then the most important recon unit in my eyes is the UAV. This allows you to figure out where the enemy deploys early on, keep it around for 60 points, and just set up your formations. It baits out enemy aircraft quite nicely as well. And a lot of enemy ground AA can't really deal with it if they're mostly based around radar AA or only have bad man pads. Then shooting down this thing isn't all that easy for a lot of decks, and then you just get free information about them, figuring out where the enemy ATGM positions are and so on, so that your Leos can choose the right path and don't run into ambushes. So the Epavir, in my eyes, maybe the most important unit in the deck, for sure a really, really strong one. And a massive leg up above second Panzer Grenadier in that regard as well, whilst obviously Division not getting a heavy tanks. AA is being seen as the weakness of the deck, and that makes sense because you don't have any long range here. But the tools you got are actually pretty good in their class. The Gepard is a great spec. The firepower of it is good against helicopter, good against aircraft. Any enemy unit flying directly over it will eat a lot of damage, and the Mistral is the heaviest hitting manpad, so shooting down enemy planes that fly over you actually is possible. Issues, you often don't stop them before they hit you, so you will have to spread out a bit, have to be a bit careful, bait enemies in, but anything flying over Mistrals and Gepards usually is dead. Good against helicopters as well, both of them with the 2825 meter range there to really hit the helicopters before they can hurt you, so all of that is quite nice as well. Unfortunately, this thing doesn't have forward deploy anymore, and without forward deploy this is completely useless. It was okay as the support there, allowed somewhat more risky openers against helicopter decks that could attack you with helicopters on the early stages. But since then, you have to be a bit more careful with your infantry deployment, especially against decks that have good fighters and good helicopters, because protecting them is tough. Your forward deployment protecting against those is tough, because your fighters might lose against their fighters, and then their helicopters will just trash your opener before your AA can arrive. The helicopters, we have the TOW 2 with a bit more ammo here. Costs 10 points extra, but you run out of 4 quite quickly. Out of 8, you basically never run out, so having the slightly better ammo here for 10 points is nice. It's a pretty expensive ATGM helicopter, but it has powerful ATGM missiles. It has 6 hit points, means it can survive a manpad hit, and has the speed to move around quickly and disengage quickly as well with 270 kmh. So it's a really nice agile tool to help out on the flank where the enemy tries to get a breakthrough or so, and getting a heavy armor killer there can be really key in some clutch positions. If you kill off the enemy AA and the enemy only has tanks around, bringing in this thing quickly and pushing back the enemy or killing off the enemy can be a big swing in a lot of games. Not a key factor of the deck, but it plays its role nicely. Fighters, you unfortunately only get F-16 AAs with the outdated AM-9Ps. Those at least have 3 missiles on each wing, so you get 6 here in total, but the AM-9Ps with only 4 damage mean that even 2 hits aren't enough to kill off a plane. You will need some gun runs or a 3rd hit. Accuracy is not great, range is not amazing, but it can do the job against helicopters, which usually have 8 hit points. 2 hits there are fine, and the gun helps out too. Against the 6 hit points helicopters if you only get 1 hit, for example. And against planes, these are at least cheap enough to come out in numbers. And then you can overwhelm enemy airplanes, especially if you can bait them over your Mistrals and so on, and just threaten to hit the enemy as well a bit. So 175 points, that's a nice price for an otherwise not so great fighter. And then we have 2 good strike aircraft. First, the Mercy Bomber. Great bomb load, great M9M Sidewinder, good guns, 30% ECM, good speed. So this thing hits hard, can deal good damage to any target out there. Doesn't always quite kill off tanks, but it does good damage against those as well, so that your Leos, for example, could come in. And then we have the cluster with the weaker M9Ps. This is why it's cheaper, because the clusters itself, they kill any tank. So you can take heavy tanks of the equation and then just push through a specific target area, and that's where both of these planes come in quite nicely. We have also the option for this F-16 with mixed loadout here, but this doesn't have any air-to-air missiles. It only has 20% ECM compared to the 30% ECM here. It's slightly faster, but also has a longer reload time. So I'd rather take the shorter reload time here with the air-to-air missiles that can help out against helicopters, that also can help out against other planes when there is a bit more going on in the air. Especially the AIM-9Ms of the Mercip can be really handy there. So I'd rather go with those planes in that case. So let's talk strengths and weaknesses. Strengths are pretty obvious. The deck has a strong infantry tab with IFVs. The deck has cost-efficient tanks, and it has forward deployment with a good recon tab. Good forward deploy recon. And that gives it a lot of aggression, a lot of speed, and if you can get that on the battlefield, it is all quite nice. I forgot the artillery tab, M109 and 107mm mortar there. So, yeah, nothing special there. Weaknesses are pretty obvious as well. No long-range AA. For an armored division, no heavy tanks can be a big issue as well. And then I would also say maybe a bit of a lack of ATGMs on IVs can play a role, but yeah, no long-range fire is the bigger disadvantage here as well. So the lack of long-range AA both in the fighter and the AA tab really is something you have to play around. The Mistral and Gepard can compensate you decently for it, but you have to play around that so that everything is sticking somewhat close together and so on, and then you always have it still spread out far enough that if an enemy planes come in, it can kill something, sure, doesn't destroy your whole situation, and you can kill it in return. Like, this is how you have to play it. It is absolutely doable. Usually I trade pretty positively against enemy air taps with this deck, because enemies are like, oh yeah, I can bomb this deck, and then they run into 3 Gepards and everything a plane of them gets just shredded. But you have to play around that and have to be careful of how far away you move your units, because if you move out of the pretty small AA umbrella, you just gotta get bombed to smithereens. So, yep, thanks for watching, everybody. As always, let me know down below what you think about the deck and what you would change. And see you all in the next one. Bye bye, and have a great day.